So I titled this part of the series The Wait. Now, when we think of waiting, when we think of patience, when we think of faith, and we, put that into what it is of being a Christian, that is one of the main reasons why people just have no interest in really, fully living on a life for Christ. And, it's easier said than done. Everybody just tells you, have faith, God can do anything. And it's like, God can do anything, but I feel like your perspective will begin to change when you realize why you're doing it. So I definitely wrote down some notes and, I'm gonna drop some gems today. So I started out in Matthew 17, and if you guys aren't familiar with it, it's the story about when Jesus had to take the demon out of the possessed boy. And I'm actually going to read some of this. It starts at Matthew 17, verses 17. Jesus replied, well, actually, I'm going to start at verse 14. When they reached the crowd, a man approached and knelt down before him. Lord, he said, have mercy on my son because he has seizures and suffers severely. He often falls into the fire and often into the water. I brought him to your disciples, but they couldn't heal him. Jesus replied, you unbelieving and rebellious generation. How long will I be with you? How long must I put up with you? Bring him here to me. Then Jesus rebuked the demon, and it came out of him, and from that moment the boy was healed. Then the disciples approached Jesus privately and said, why couldn't we drive it out? Because of your little faith, he told them, for I assure you, if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you will tell this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you. However, this kind does not come out except by prayer and fasting. Now, the first thing I want to say is Jesus was snapping low key. He was real tight, and I feel like, that's literally the type of God that we deal with. When we think of Christianity, we think of, oh, holy art thou. And I mean, God is definitely holy, but, Jesus was snapping. And I feel like if we really put it into perspective and we think about our parents or something, when they asking us to do something, or when we're asking our children to do something, and it's the tedious thing, we get so mad because it's this takes nothing to do. But it's when we apply that to our own lives and our own journey, something as simple as having faith the size of a mustard seed. Mind you, a mustard seed is this big. So it's that's literally how God is looking at us. It's nothing, have faith, I got you. And so the first point that I put was that having faith requires you to have patience. And that's something we don't want to have. We don't want to have patience. We want the right now. We don't want to wait for anything. We want to know, okay, if we're on a journey, how we're going to get there, how long it's going to take, what the directions look like. And it's that's what we're used to. But when we're talking about the spiritual world, and when we're talking about what God has for us, is literally the complete opposite. In God's eyes is put on your shoes, start walking, and as you walking, I'm going to give you direction. I'm going to give you guidance. You don't know the plan. You don't know the journey. All you need to know is that you can trust me, and that I'm going to get you to what you need, and I have what you need waiting for you, but you have to walk. And once you begin to walk, God will give you step by step. So how we can apply that to our everyday lives is, if God has given you a promise for something, or God has revealed to you, this is something that I have for you, and we're sitting here stressed out and worrying, well, God, you did say this, when is it coming? Literally, your prayer life needs to be more like, God, what is step one? And once you get through step one and you get through that testing, God will begin to give you step by step by step, so that you can get to the promise. And that's the thing, that requires having patience, that requires having faith, and it also requires believing. In order to have faith, you have to believe. If I know in my heart or hearts that this is something that you're going to do, then it's not hard for me to believe at all. But if I have doubt, then, that's what kind of makes it difficult to have faith. So when you are really questioning, why is it hard for me to have faith, you really have to seek your heart and go back and think, is this something that I really know that God is capable of? Because if God is capable of it, then why am I having so much doubt? What is really hindering me from being patient? I mean, if your parents told you, hey, if you clean up and you do chores and all these things every single day, and at the end of the week, I'm going to give you a reward. You know, it's like we are gonna trust that, okay, you know, my mama told me to do this, this, and this, so I'm gonna start doing these things, and I know she gonna hook me up at the end of the week. And it's like, if we really apply that to having faith, it's the same thing. God shows us a promise, or he tells us that I got you, and we need to trust that he has us. Like, you know, we need to stop being so, like, making it more complicated than what it is, and realize that God has you. All you have to do is listen, seek him, and go step by step by step. So that's definitely something that I want to tell you. You know, if having faith or patience is something that you lack, or something that you feel like you struggle with, don't worry about the whole entire journey. Worry about each step. Another thing that stood out to me was when Jesus told the disciples that if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you will tell this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move. Like, do you know how big a mountain is? But it's like, you know, Jesus wasn't just talking a big game. Like, he was telling them, God has given you everything that you need. And if you have faith, like, you can do the same things that I can do. Like, God has given us a level of authority, especially to walk in purpose with what he has for our will. And that's the thing. If you know you got somebody like God backing you up, and you know that you're living in purpose, and you know that it's something that's of God, then you have to speak boldly. You have to speak to that mountain and tell that mountain that it will move. And if you carry that into instances and things that you deal with on a day-to-day, you know, that will help increase your faith as well. Knowing who you're serving and knowing that you have authority as well. Now, the last thing that stood out to me was when it says nothing will be impossible for you. If God has already given you the promise that nothing will be impossible for you, then there's really nothing to worry about. Like, patience is literally becoming an excuse at this point. Faith is literally becoming an excuse at this point. If I know that God got me, if I know that all I have to do is seek him, if I know that when I seek him, he's going to give me step by step, what am I really sitting here worrying about? Why am I in panic mode? Why am I having anxiety? Like, why am I depressed? Why am I worried about the outcome? If God says he has it for you, he has it for you. What will be for you will be for you. And I feel like that goes back to even the last part where it's saying prayer and fasting. The more you pray and fast, especially when it seems like the promise or the plan that God has told you is impossible, you know, really seek him, really dig into your word, really dig and, you know, continue to go into your quiet time, you know, really just fasting and praying, like, so that God can give you clear direction, and that so that you know that it's coming directly from God. And another thing is, when you're having faith, especially when it's something that just seems crazy, you know, you really have to worry about who you're listening to. You know, you really have to worry about, like, focusing only on God's plan, because nobody knows the plan better than God. So, you know, it's really just making sure that you are, number one, listening to the source, which is God, and then that you're seeking him at all time and not letting anything hinder you from what God has for you. Now, this does complete part 2 of the series. I will have another video for you guys coming next week. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow me on Instagram at QUEETEEFACES. You know, I am a makeup artist. I do tutorials and client application and things like that. Thank you guys for watching. I love you guys. Bye.